place called Gethsemane. And he said to the disciples, "Sit here and wait while I go over there and pray." He took with him Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, and he began to be grieved and agitated. He said to them, I am deeply grieved, even to death. Remain here. Stay awake with me. And then going a little further, he threw himself on the ground and prayed, "My Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Yet not what I want, but what you want." He came to the disciples and found them sleeping. He said to Peter, "Couldn't you stay awake with me even 1 hour? Stay awake. Pray that you will not come into the time of trial. Spirit indeed is willing, but flesh weak." Again he went a second time by himself and prayed, "My Father, if this cannot pass unless I drink it, your will be done." He came to the disciples and again found them sleeping, for their eyes were very heavy. He went yet a third time and prayed, saying the same words. And then he came back to the disciples and said, "Are you still sleeping, still taking your rest? Look, the hour is at hand. The Son of Man is betrayed into the hand of sinners. Get up. Let us be going. See, my betrayer is at hand."
While he was still speaking, Judas, one of the 12, arrived. With him was a large crowd of people carrying swords and clubs from the high priests and the elders of the people. Now the betrayer had given them a sign, saying, "The one that I will kiss is the man. Arrest him." At once he came up to Jesus and said, "Greetings, Rabbi." And he kissed him. Jesus said to him, "Friend, do what you are here to do." Then they came and laid hands on Jesus and arrested him. Suddenly, one of those with Jesus put his hand on his sword, drew it, and struck the slave of the high priest, cutting off his ear. Then Jesus told him, "Put your sword back into its place, for those who take the sword will perish by the sword. Do you think that I cannot appeal to my Father, who at once would send me more than 12 legions of angels? But then, how would the scriptures be fulfilled that say things must happen in this way?" At that hour he addressed the crowds. "Have you come out with swords and clubs to arrest me as though I were a bandit? Day after day I sat in the temple teaching, and you did not arrest me. But all this has taken place so that the scriptures of the prophets may be fulfilled." Then his disciples deserted him and fled.
Those who had arrested Jesus took him to Caiaphas the high priest, in whose house the scribes and the elders had gathered. But Peter was following him at a distance, as far as the courtyard of the high priest. And going inside, he sat with the guards in order to see how this would end. Now the chief priests and the whole council were looking for false testimony against Jesus, so that they might put him to death. But they found none, though many false witnesses came forward. At last, 2 came forward and said, "This fellow said, 'I am able to destroy the temple of God and to build it in 3 days.'" The chief priest stood up and said, "Have you no answer? What is it that they testify against you?" But Jesus was silent. Then the chief priest said, "I put you under oath before the living God. Tell us, if you are the Messiah, the Son of God." Jesus said to him, "You have said so. But I tell you, from now on you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power and coming on the clouds of heaven." Then the high priest tore his clothes and said, "He has blasphemed. Why do we still need witnesses? You have now heard his blasphemy. What is your verdict?" They answered, "He deserves death." Then they spat in his face and struck him. And some slapped him, saying, "Prophesy to us, you Messiah. Who is it that struck you?" Now Peter was sitting outside in the courtyard. A servant girl came to him and said, "You also were with Jesus the Galilean." But he denied it before all of them, saying, "I do not know what you are talking about." Peter went out to the porch, and another servant girl saw him. And she said to the bystanders, "This man was with Jesus of Nazareth." Again, he denied it with an oath, "I do not know the man." After a little while, the bystanders came up and said to Peter, "Certainly, you are also one of them, for your accent betrays you." Then Peter began to curse, and he swore an oath, "I do not know the man." At that moment, the cock crowed. Then Peter remembered what Jesus had said, "Before the cock crows, you will deny me 3 times." And he went out and wept bitterly.